Y'all all know the scenario. You're looking to buy a vintage bike and the guy's telling you it's a one owner, all original barn find, frozen in time. But if you've been doing this long enough, you're thinking this guy's most likely as full of shit as a Thanksgiving turkey. But the price is right and you want it, so you buy it. So we're headed to the shop where my son should have the engine pulled apart. We can start checking the casting numbers, date codes, and truly see if it's just a bitsabike or an original. See, putting the pieces of the puzzle together is a big part of the fun of restoring this old junk iron for a lot of us. So as we unravel the details, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Well, Casco was a foundry that cast most of the sealed parts for the engine through the years. So that's the first thing we're going to look for on the flywheel. Then we'll look at the date codes to verify it's from a 1950 production. ECK Foundries out of Manawak, Wisconsin took over aluminum castings in late 1949, and the first years of their castings have just a simple capital E. That's what we're going to be looking for on the cases and heads. Now, Alcoa made the timing gear cover, so let's check and see if their stamp is on the inside, because it was popular to change to an aftermarket gear cover. Now, there's kind of an ironic story about this. When I picked this bike up, I drove straight here from Texas where I unloaded it at the shop. It wasn't in pristine condition. I planned to fully restore it anyway, but that day I just had to ride it. So after kickstarting it, began doing some laps in the field, and unbeknownst to me, gas was leaking down onto the old style spark plug wires. And after a few more laps, it ignited, set ablaze, and I jumped off the bike and hollered for my son to bring a fire extinguisher, which helped subdue the fire, but even still, it took several more buckets of water to completely put it out. So let's get in here and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to check is the flywheels. Okay, so first thing you see is it's got the McCasco Casting Company logo. So we know that this was cast for Harley Davidson. Now let's look at our date code. It's F6-9, so that's June 6th of 49. So that would be when it would be cast for a 1950 engine. We got 50-403, so that's correct. Now let's look at the left side. We know the right side's correct. Let's see if they were born together. I don't tear up the original cases like a buffoon. McCasco, that's correct. We got K 14 of 9, so that's October 14th of 49. So it's like it's supposed to be. We got 150 40, so that's correct. So the both the right and left side of the flywheels are correct. Let's look at connecting rods. Alright, well, we can tell right out the gate that the connecting rod's aftermarket. For whatever reason, they replaced it sometime in its life. But the RPLS, and then this part number right here, looks like Dixie Manufacturing made this, and they made aftermarket parts for panheads, shovel heads up until I think the late 80s, maybe into the 90s. But alright, so one of the things I do want to check, I want to kind of check for some roughness in the bearings, because remember, when it was on fire, after the fire extinguisher ran out, we started dumping 5-gallon buckets of water on this thing to keep them heads from overheating. And I don't really feel any roughness. I'll chuck them up in the lathe and check it, but I'm probably going to go ahead and separate them and check the bearings to see if there's any kind of little bit of surface rust. The last thing I want is the bottom end going out after I put this thing back together. So I'm probably going to do that, but I don't know just yet. Alright, now I went ahead and already checked the belly numbers on both cases, and they match. The other thing I wanted to look at is, see, in 1950, the later part of it, Harley Davidson went to using a casting company that was newly started up called ECT or EC, however you say it. And their casting emblem was just a simple uppercase E, which this has got. So, and it was manufactured, this case was cast in it looks like October of 49, so that makes sense. I mean, because it's the later part of 50, and we got that casting emblem. All right, now the right case half, it was September of 49. Now there is some debate in the antique motorcycle world about see these two dots here. Some say it's November that they went to these dots instead of a hash or a line right there, but as you can see, this is September of 49 and it's got the two dots. So that being so close together, you know, a lot of this stuff is lost to antiquity, but you got the E just like it should. And you know, all in all, the case, both case halves, they don't have any weld repairs on them. They're in excellent shape. I can't complain. So let's go ahead and get these to the parts washer, let them clean up. We'll put the heads and cylinders on here. Let's check them out. We got the 119-501, which is correct. You know, it's got the E for the casting company, just like on the cases. And this was manufactured on this. This is the casting date. It was 6 of 52, so June of 52. So let's look at the other one and see if they're a matching set. But we know that these are 52 heads on a 1950 bottom end. All right, now you see we got 11950. That's correct for the front head. We've got the E casting mark for the casting company, and our date code is 62. So this is a matched set of heads. And the only weld repair is just this one right here. All the fins are, you know, in good shape. The exhaust port is in real good shape on both of them. And you'll also notice that, and this is on both of them, that they haven't been cut down on the seats very much, if at all, really. All right, so this cylinder here starts with an E, which means May, 15-2, so the 15th of 52. All right, now on the other cylinder, you can clearly see an F. That's June 17 of 52. All right, so it's got the correct plumber style intake manifold, and the casting number on the tappet blocks is correct. And you also see that it's running the groove, and that was the way they were from 48 to 52. But until 53 that they started running a little hole in there. All right, here we have the gear cover. It's got the 8 fins, which is correct for 1950. And we've got Alcoa in there. That's the casting company that did that back then. Now, the rocker covers in 1950 were stainless. And actually, I think they were stainless up till 54. And that's what we got here. So this is correct. But what ain't correct is this D-ring. They didn't start putting these on there until 1951. Now, in 1948, Harley Davidson went to hydraulic push rods. They still use the solid tappets. I think these are correct. They look like it, and I'm pretty sure they are. If anybody knows, go ahead and leave a comment. But this, the push rod, has been swapped out, which wasn't uncommon back then. I may try to find some original push rods. Now the cam, it's an Andrews, so I mean, you know, it's aftermarket. I need to look up the grind on it and see what the performance is on it. But the other gears, they look to be correct. All right, so we started unlocking the mystery of the history of the 1950 FL. And we've seen that the top end was actually all cast in 1952. But the cool thing is the casting codes put them all real close together. I feel like it's a matching set. The bottom end is mostly 1950, other than the connecting rods. And you know, next week we'll tear into the transmission. We'll look at the frame and start trying to put more pieces of the puzzle together. So if you want to follow along and see more about this bike, make sure to hit like and subscribe. I'm headed to the house, get a cold beer. See you on the next one.